Hey guys, welcome. Trading analysis, Crypto Lab with Alex. We are going to look a little bit more in depth of the higher time frame wave counts on Bitcoin and Ether. Some correlations that has been functioning so far, and a couple of wave counts which are presented by a couple of Elliotticians as well out there. As usual, you can post your comments and requests in the chat box, and it will be nice to know as a viewers from which country are you come from. So if you don't mind, type that in the chat box. Crypto service at Trading Analysis has been functioning from end of 2017. We have guided successfully our membership through all of these storms, and we have a nice track record of mapping out the Bitcoin price and Ether price, as well as the other cryptos in the last couple of years. Let's look a little bit a macro overview. It will not be through charts. I will show you just the latest updates on yields. If you follow the Crypto Lab, you are probably noticed that we have been looking for a move down in yields. In the last couple of months, we are kind of rooting for a chart which presents this move down in yields, which already has started in the larger degree wave 4, and I think we have a solid foundation now to look this move down in yields as a start of a 5-wave move, which means that most likely the wave 4 will extend a little bit and we will have some type of an ABC pullback, since this wave 2 was a little bit more of a complex nature. So according to the guideline of alternation, we might see, that's just a guideline, this might also go complex, but in most of the cases we might see some type of a simple ABC or some type of a flat here, starting for a little bit earlier, and then a push further higher in yield. So a couple of things here. 1618, it's a usual ratio for the wave 3. We already came very close to it, so I think that's valid. And we have some type of 5-wave down developments lower, which I think it's gonna continue to serve us as a foundation for this wave 4 lower. So yields, Fed is on the 14, we have a CPI as well. Before the Fed, I think the CPI will come lower, since we didn't see anything going significantly higher, either from commodities. So oil is trading pretty much lower for the next couple of months, since we have CPI data which are lagging. I think that will come also on the table, so maybe we're going to see a number even below 7.7 in the readings. So Fed, as announced, will decrease the increments of the rates. They're moving higher, so they're not going to go for 0.75 basis points, so they're talking about 50 and 25. And I think in one moment they will pause. So this is the larger time frame outlook. I do think that in 2023-24 we're going to see a larger pullback in yields, either due to a global macro global political situation, which might smell as at least as a peace talks between Ukraine and Russia, some around in the next couple of months, or some other events. So we will see that. I think this will be significant for the potential future price of the cryptos, either going further higher or in a retracement mode. So yields is moving as our thesis was actually predicted that in the last couple of weeks, even months. So let's view what's going on with a couple of correlations with the Bitcoin. I have posted on Twitter my longer term outlook, and there has been a couple of questions in regards of this chart of the Bitcoin, so I'm going to show you that in more details. So the first question on that chart was that why the wave 3 in this intermediate possible wave 3 development is shorter than wave 1. So the answer is very simple. Wave 1 was pretty large on the upside, and it must have been an extension. So when you have, as you can see, this Elliott Wave model here for the first wave extension, you will have a wave 1 extended, and then you will have a wave 3 a little bit smaller in development, and then the wave 5, which might be the smallest of these three sequences. So if you see this combined a couple of fib ratios, if we continue to trade on the upside, there is a pretty nice levels there. I'm still gonna look for a bullish wave count until this wave count actually is invalidated at 13,826. I've been talking about that many times, but just a short explanation. Even if we anchor this wave 3 here, and this actually starts to invalidate our wave count and goes into a corrective pullback, the wave 5 will satisfy to be the shortest on this model of the first wave, which is extended in this sequence. So in both cases, this will rather work out that the wave 3 is smaller than the wave 1, and the wave 5 is smaller than the wave 3. So just the technicalities for the Elliott Wave guys, because I have received a lot of questions in regards of that relation. So let's look a couple of correlations. So as you know before, and even now, we have a little bit of a divergence. So SMH, so this is the semiconductor ETF, has been in the past at least a kind of a nice nice correlated assets with the asset with the Bitcoin. We can call it a sub asset because it's a ETF. So if you see from April 2020 and even a little bit before, but with the last success than for the last couple of years, a pretty tight correlation with these two guys, and basically some of them was stopping earlier in some instances in the past. But now we have a pretty sizable divergence here. So SMH is trading on the upside, as you can see already, and Bitcoin is still trading on the downside without any attempts, viable attempts to form some type of a 5-wave move. So if we develop a 5-wave move on the SMH, which I have here, that might change a little bit situation for the Bitcoin. So this is the SMH chart, and still we don't have a full 5-wave sequence here, but potentially we might develop that. Wave count invalidation is somewhere around at 193. We are trading at 216. We will see when the markets opens today how this will go, but potentially this looks like a pretty nice wave 4 consolidation. 200 moving average bounce lower on 3 hour, but on the daily also 200 moving average was keeping this wave 3 or wave 5 development on the upside. So we will see if this small consolidation, usually in my experience, when you consolidate around 200 moving average, there is a chance of a breakout on the upside towards the next resistance levels, which is at 247. So let's see how this will go. So we cannot confirm a full 5-wave swing on the SMH, but we might see some catch up on the upside on the Bitcoin side, not soon. Maybe we're going to do a little bit more on the downside and then continue further on the upside. So an interesting observation in my opinion, if you look this couple of markets which are correlated, like the Nasdaq and the sub Nasdaq chart, which is the actually SMH, kind of works good with this. So I think this is something noticeable which needs to be definitely observed. So let's dive into a longer time frame wave count. I want to comment a couple of them. I have seen a couple of wave counts going into this direction. So 5 waves up. This is I want to comment a couple of things that I do not align with this higher time frame, very bullish Bitcoin wave count. So first, wave 2s usually by their movement on the downside are much deeper. So that's the first observation I will made on this wave count, which is presenting that this is some type of a 1-2 and we are developing already a third wave on the upside. Secondary notion here also is that the wave 2 of a lesser degree, it's already starting to be same or even larger of this pullback here. Which is not kind of in agreement that we are in a third wave or is going to start that, because usually the verticality of the wave 3 in the wave 3 are pretty 90-degree angle. So this is not kind of a good preparation, because you want to see a strength much earlier. In this case. And a third notion is that if this is a wave 3 on the upside, even if this is a wave 1 which is elongated or extended, we are going to trade around 10 trillion market cap, which I don't think it's a kind of a sound number in this situation that we are going to expect in this financial environment that we are now. So I think for a Bitcoin to become something of a global event in a currency spectrum, we need to see something more of a prolonged financial crisis or a complete collapse, so the people can, I'm not saying that it's not possible, I'm just saying, in my opinion, what will be maybe necessary to see a larger adoption and usage of a Bitcoin. Inflation hedge, we have seen that has been a not very successful narrative, and also pristine collateral and store of value for now didn't play very well, as this was pushed mostly in the main financial medias for the Bitcoin. So none of that worked. I would really like Bitcoin to go to its roots as a currency and to see more of that type of a usage than of these derivative narratives that we are listening all around. Can Bitcoin succeed as a currency? That's a debatable question from many sides. First, of course, you need adoption. Adoption in opening wallets for trading are not the sound case for the Bitcoin currency usage. So we need to be and see more countries, more people using it, that it can take its kind of a nice place around the available option on this financial plane. So I'm going to stay with the same wave count. I'm still not going to go here for a bearish wave count, which is relatively simple from here. If we invalidate this 13,826, we are still trading pretty sideways, more or less up and down. This reminds me on this reminds me on a couple of wave structures that we can call an ending diagonal. So wave 3 here, either down or a little bit more downside. Ending diagonals are pretty tricky, but anyhow, you need this wave 4 either from here or a little bit lower actually to enter the territory of the wave 1, but it cannot surpass the wave 2. So the rules in the ending diagonals are pretty strict, and they're drawn out in a sense what can happen and what cannot. So this wave 4 needs to go into the territory of this wave 1, so we need to trade above 18,200. And then we might see a last push on the downside, which will make this a very handy ending diagonal, which are basically announcing you that we don't have a much more on the downside because the 5-wave sequence is already done. Okay. The question is, do we invalidate the overall wave count for the bullish solution, or we are not? So my second case scenario, of course, if we do invalidate this, we need to anchor a wave 3 here and then just go with the ABC on the upside and the further development on the downside. So I do think that this is also a probable option. As I said, I'm going to stay bullish until I see a wave count invalidation, and of course evaluation where the yields are going to make a bigger pause in the Bitcoin. We also have this halving coming in March of 2024, which I think from the perspective of a liquidity and the how the Bitcoin actually behaves as more of a risk, very risky asset class, in a more of a pairing with what's going on with the liquidity overall in the world, then that it's opted outside of that. So if that isn't the question, we have to suppose that if the liquidity comes when the yields goes lower, and we see maybe Feds not completely pivot, but basically stops or maybe even reduces a couple of notches down in a rate hikes in the next year, if inflation goes down and if geopolitics agrees, I think that will be maybe a good environment to pair this potentially going for higher levels and met the previous cycle, halving cycle, which is a pretty on time as you look the previous cycle. So we have been working these cycles, I think 5 or 6 times before in the previous halvings, and there has been going the same. So some around 2023 beginning, we should start slowly rising towards the 2024 halving if the liquidity allows, and then after that halving cycle, couple of months, we should start dropping further. So there has been this cycle so far in the same manner as I described already 5 times. I think basically the same script. Yeah, so in the case we go lower, this will be my wave count, as I said. So ABC pullback, let me just find that one. I have a scratch wave counts here. I never can remember where did I push this one. Lots of measures. So ABC pullback, and we go lower from that. So pullbacks can go back to 25, 30K, depends on a fib ratio, depends on a length of the wave A and a pullback B. So this will be something which I will be looking for if we break. One of the things that I don't like, if I look this weekly time frame, I don't like we are trading below 200 moving average. This 200 moving average has been a significant nice point where we actually held the previous falls. So this is something which I don't like much. That's the first thing. Second thing, what I like is sentiment. I think it cannot be worse than it's currently with all of these shenanigans we had with the FTX and other projects. Of course, Bitcoin maximalist and the other proponents of the Bitcoin more and more in media, as I see, are starting to actually point out that the Bitcoin is completely different, in a different space than the other cryptocurrencies. As we said, I think that expression currency is really a very unfortunate one, and I think that the holders of the world narrative of cryptos should change that. But I think in the lack of classification from the regulatory perspective, they call it currencies. So they are not currencies. Of course, Ether is a completely different project, completely different things that you can do on Ether. So I think more it behaves like a stock over some projects, then but then in a sense you have to also throw into that discussion how we can behave as the FTX did and actually print our own liquidity in coins. So that's also a very debatable one. So some more probable classification will clarify that. So in that respect, sentiment, I think it's on the worst point possible. And this is what I like, but we don't have a pattern confirmation on the upside. So I will really like to see Bitcoin starts to trade above this in some type of a five wave impulse on the upside, and then a pullback. Either we are in a C wave or we are going in a third wave to reach this final destination in this cycle. Will be something that is playable with higher probability. So let's go and look a little bit of Ether. So Ether is holding much better in my opinion. So even if we look this 200 moving average on weekly level, it is holding around it much better than a Bitcoin. We might drop a little bit more if Bitcoin goes to 14K in my opinion. But still, it's a more kind of a more viable chart if you look the overall what is it doing now. So I still don't see something on the upside which will indicate that we are either starting a bigger correction or a wave 3 on the upside. So I think according to the Bitcoin chart, we should maybe see a little bit more downside. I'm not still prepared to actually go with Ether with the same wave count or the ending diagonal as in a Bitcoin, because I think Ether Bitcoin chart has been very bullish for Ether. So maybe we are not going to reach a new low in Ether while the Bitcoin maybe do that. So that is also very possible. But I'm on a fence. I'm watching what is going on. And especially if the Bitcoin moves down towards 14K in the next couple of weeks, we might see a little bit more lower levels in Ether, which for me will be completely justified on this potential ABC on the upside or a bullish wave count. So I think Ether situation is a little bit more better if you look all of this side indicators and what is doing on from a technical perspective, and also from the fundamental perspective. We know that we have switched to proof of stake and Ether, I think in this last wreckage of Solana, which is relatively cheap, I would say, until this FTX things clears out, Ether and Bitcoin stands out as a projects which are kind of a most solid one, I would say. So what can I say more, guys? Maybe there is not much happening, so I picked a couple of subjects maybe we usually don't talk much about, just for you to have my longer term perspective on that. Ether Bitcoin, yes, we can look that, so I can show you that chart as well. I'm still gonna stay bullish on that chart because there is no indications that we are moving significantly lower. So I do see this sequence here developing as a kind of a nice, still nice potential move further on the upside, which means that Ether in the next cycle, when we start either to retrace or going higher, will be stronger than a Bitcoin, at least for now. So on a smaller time frame, I look this as a 1-2 up in 3, 4 and 5 ongoing. So from lows here without the wave count validation, we had a nice 5-wave move, and I think this is a pullback, either finished or ongoing, and I think this will continue to go further on the upside. So let me see your questions and comments. Hey Schnitzel, chilies. Schnitzel always wants to see chilies. So Oleg, hello Oleg, how are you? Eva, is the count there? Your green wave 4 is completed July 2021 and the 5th already completed. Also valid. I will have to check that. Do you mean for the Bitcoin or which one? Oh, okay. I showed you that. Okay. So Samyukyon wants the Matic. Please look at XI. I don't know what is XI, so let's look at that. Matic, I think, is still holding very well. So my Matic chart is something which still holds on to some of the bullish wave counts. Let me just find that one. I have a couple of platforms opened. I think my Matic chart is here. So let me look the Matic and what's going on there. Yeah, from this perspective, I still think Matic is some type of, I don't like a little bit, but this is possible in cryptos that wave twos are a little bit longer with this situation. I'm still gonna stay bullish because Matic is holding very well technically, okay? So the overall wave count on the higher degree, it's still showing me that Matic potentially, sorry about all of these labels. So even if we cancel all of that and try kind of a look what's going on, we have a first consolidation and then we have a nice move on the upside, and then this was pretty complex. So maybe this is the directional consolidation already done, or some type of a small ABC. In any case, I will look this for a potential continuation of the trend, because there is a one pause, second pause, and I think Matic is kind of looking good here. It's holding well, doesn't dropping too much when the Bitcoin and Ether goes down, and it's one of the viable projects. So I think Matic is still something which is, in my opinion, looking good in that respect. So let me just, I try to change something for the wave counts on Matic. So yeah, I think it's still good on a smaller time frame, maybe a little bit more downside. There is no five-way moves here yet on the upside, so I'm still kind of looking maybe an ABC, some type of an X, and a little bit more downside for now, for at least for some bounce. Yeah, okay, so let's look Chili's. I think Chili's didn't move much. I don't know, Schnitzel, why do you insist on that? Chili's doesn't move that much in the, I think I gave you the last time Chili's. So yeah, so still we are looking for a wave 2 pullback as per the last RSI is coming lower. I think we maybe have a little bit more downside. So for now it's looking good, still within the ranges of what we have think for, that we are in some type of an ABC to the downside. So next support around 0.13142 for Chili's. What is XE? I don't think we looked at. Yeah, I didn't look that one. We have some type of a five-way move. This still goes down. The RSI is low. We might have some type of a pullback, but this is overall still a bearish chart on this XE. So not much of a perspective. It's hard to draw these trend lines on a trading view. So still, yeah, I will not look. If you look RSI here, it looks kind of a lower, but we don't see any signs. So if I want to track this on a smaller time frame, I want to see some sequence confirming or moving up, at least for some type of a pullback. So for now, this is a pretty trendy on the downside for Chi, or XE as you call it. Alex is asking, it is not possible it is not possibly we are undergoing a super cycle 2 correction on a BTC since Genesis we have 5. Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I commented that before. I don't know, Alec, if you joined before. I really cannot see in this situation Bitcoin being in the wave 2 completed and we go up in a wave 3 if you think about that. I mean, that is a bit too spacey for me. I try to stay grounded and that has kept our clients actually going through this mess pretty nicely. So I will not really label Bitcoin as I showed before to be in a cycle degree, which is already implying we are in the wave 3 on the upside. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We don't have I mean, if you think about it, I don't know. For me, from the beginnings, many of the participants in these crypto markets accept of by being mooned by different YouTubers and all of that stuff that is going on there, which were propping coins or whatever they did. I rarely really came across about the sound analysis or a sane analysis about the cryptos and the Bitcoin. All of these narratives has failed so far, at least for now. So I like more of a grounded, close to earth. If we are in a cycle 2 and starting the wave 3, where the liquidity will come from, where these trillions will push the price on the upside, who's going to buy a Bitcoin? As I said, we need a kind of a global world crisis with the banking system going off, completely offline, and that will maybe offer a chance of a Bitcoin to spread more. I'm not saying that's not possible. I'm just saying I'm not seeing that conditions for now, at least. Okay. So we also have CBDC now unrolled. I know they're unpopular, but they're unrolling. They're in a test phase. So yeah, lots of things I think and conditions which will be necessary for a Bitcoin to become to be in this type of 5-wave move. So I really don't agree currently with that outlook. Thoughts on a deflationary bust? Well, for now we have inflation, so I don't think inflation will go in this new geopolitical order, at least for some time. Maybe when the AI and robotic production kicks after 2030 and beyond, we might again see movement in prices lower, but as we see replacement of the working force, but now I think we're going to see just a small pause in inflation and we're going to continue on the upside. So I don't see deflationary bust. I don't know who is even talking about that now. And on the charts, it's clearly visible that inflation, it's not going to back down for the next couple of years. So I don't know. There is a lot of unfounded talks up there, guys. So I don't know. It depends who you are listening to. What I'm speaking here, it's all derived from my observations. I do follow the crypto space. I do follow what people are presenting, but I don't know. So far, I have rarely seen a presentation that sounds very, very kind of a sane, logical, and down to earth. Yeah, yeah, no problem, Schnitzel. Hex, I think we did Hex for our members. It's kind of it's a good looking chart. To my surprise, I am not interested in Hex, but from the chart perspective, it starts to look relatively good. So if you see this from this. Potentially we don't have still this wave 1, so if we mark this as some type of a wave 1 and wave 2, and if you look for up in a wave 3, so this should be some type of a wave 4 consolidation. We still cannot confirm that this is over. You need to go on the upside, break this channel and have a 5 waves up, and then a pullback will be a smaller confirmation for potential continuation. So this still can morph. So in these stages, I think it is very unwise to think that wave 4 is done, because there is only 3 wave sequence. But it's looking good. I mean, it has only 3 waves down and a pullback, so this should on the end finished as either a complex correction but it definitely is correction. At least how do we see currently? I think the worst case scenario will be that this is X, we go in Y. Otherwise, if we stage some type of a 5-wave move on the upside, I think, and I will reckon that the wave 4 will be done, and that we're going to continue higher towards new highs in HEX. So for now, it's looking good. I'm watching what is going on here, but still I cannot confirm the breakout, which will actually say to us that there is a 5-wave sequence from lows, and that we are going to, after a pullback, continue higher. Okay. So I will be bullish a little bit with this couple of caveats. That we need to see a break of this corrective channel and a continuation on the upside. So, but relatively good looking chart for now. I'm not going to enter into discussion about the project. I'm just saying what I see technically. Okay. Okay, guys. So thank you for being with us. We have mentioned a couple of correlations, couple of things in a macro space. We worked through the Bitcoin chart on the higher time frames, and we looked ETH as well. Couple of your charts, and I think it does it for today. So if you want to check us out, crypto service and trading analysis, always a popular thing, I would say. Our popularity is growing, I think, for the last couple of weeks, and I hope it's going to continue because since inception we have provided sound and solid observation on the crypto space and on the price of the Bitcoin, and we must tap ourselves on the back, because most of our membership are very safe and very healthy, and we are awaiting for the possible next cycle. So tradinganalysis.com, you can take a trial, check us out, and see you guys next week. Click the like button and subscribe, usual sentence, as you know, and see you next week on Thursday. So also December, forgot to mention that, guys, December is a little bit tricky with liquidity. So we have a Christmas coming, New Year. There will be a lot of traders out of the desk. So if we measure a little bit what's going on in Bitcoin with the overall liquidity on the S&P and Nasdaq and US stock market, liquidity will be lower. That's definitely. I think after Fed of the 14, I think at trading analysis we're definitely going to take a pause in a sense, because you might see some flows which doesn't correspond until we go over and flip the year and go into some mid-January recovery from New Year, and again a kind of a proper liquidity to be back on market. So just a small warnings. I've been traded on the FX for institutional side for a long time, and some of the years these end year flows can backfire on market participants, so be aware of that. Oh, there is my, hi Bella, come, touch. There's my dog. Yeah, see you guys next week. Stay well, trade well, be careful, monitor your risk, and see you guys. Bye bye.